not, healthcare, this great battle of 30 years has been resolved. I remember in the early 70s when medical ethics began in the West, and there were so many committees and so many hospitals and universities, and we worked out a whole number of principles of the new ethic, and informed consent becomes vital. You cannot operate or treat or apply therapy to a person without his or her informed consent, and that's basic now in medicine. I trust in Romania too, but it's basic everywhere. And then the right to die is part of this whole notion of individual freedom, and that means the movement towards voluntary euthanasia. We just returned from the Netherlands where Dr. Admirali is the leader of the euthanasia movement there. Namely, if a person is dying in great pain and suffering, then he ought not to be kept alive if he has a living will. Do you have living wills here in Romania? Living wills? No living wills? That movement has not developed? A living will means, it's very widespread everywhere, that you should have the statement that if you're dying and you have great pain, you don't want to be kept alive at all costs, so that's the right to die. And now it's moving on to the right to be assisted in dying. So after the dark night of 40 years that you've had here in Romania, it seems to me that this whole notion of humanistic freedom, of democratic freedoms, of the right of individuals to develop their own lives becomes very important indeed. Well, I'm going to move on now. Do you have the thing called planetary? I think it's keep going. That's the bottom one. It's the whole file there. Keep going. Yeah. Ms. Zaleski has agreed to do that. No,
Which ones?
The manila folder.
In the middle.
Yeah, the same planetary ethics.
You put this on just quickly.
Yeah, the planetary ethics.
I'll find it.
Okay. Oh, well, that's something else too, Chris. You have a folder called planetary ethics.
And planetary humanism.
Yeah, planetary humanism. No, that's the first one you put on. Okay.
I'll see that.
Well, you don't have another folder.
Just this and paper.
Yeah, okay. Well, in any case, I think we've reached a point now. We have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was worked out by the United Nations. We have the civic virtues of democracy, recognizing that a democratic society will allow maximum freedom to the individual, and that the obligation of society is to provide critical thinking and understanding of science and also moral development. And these are values that cut across cultures today, and they're the possession of the entire human species. I think the one principle that I want to make is this principle. The fundamental principle that we are prepared to enunciate and defend is that every person is equal in dignity and value, that every person is precious, and that the good society and the civilized world will respect the privacy, the freedom, the autonomy of that person. And it applies no matter where you live. If you live in Africa, if you live in Asia, North America, Europe, nonetheless, that's an important principle. It's a basic principle of human rights. Begin with the individual and preserve that individual. Well, that's another thing. I could talk about that, but there's probably not enough time. And I talk about individual happiness. All right, leave that on. Individual happiness and exuberance. People ask what is good. I say the creative fulfillment of your talents, the achievement of eudaimonia, or well-being, says Aristotle, the fulfillment of your potentialities, living in a free society that allows you to achieve the maximization of that. But also, although I've been talking about freedom and privacy, obviously altruism is basic. There are a number of anthropologists in the United States, such as David Sloan Wilson, and also a psychologist at Harvard, Hauser, who claim that moral principles are natural to humans, and that under proper conditions they will develop. So they talk about a moral sense that's developed, some empathetic feeling. So it's feeling and rationality, it's cognition and caring that are vital. Well, I've rushed through this very rapidly because we have to catch a plane, as you well aware.
They
Yeah.
can
Okay,
just
well,
see
here's the
it.
justification. You found something else. All right, that's enough.